At the dawn of the 2nd century BC, two civilizations stood on the brink of a seismic clash. Rome, freshly victorious in the Second Punic War, was expanding with unstoppable momentum. Its legions had shattered Carthage's dreams, and now, their gaze turned eastward. Across the Adriatic, the ancient kingdom of Macedon, once ruled by Alexander the Great, still held dominion over Greece, guided by the legacy of the Phalanx and military brilliance. Rome's republic and Macedon's monarchy were destined to collide. Their ideologies clashed as much as their ambitions: Roman adaptability versus Macedonian tradition, legion versus phalanx. As trade routes intertwined and allies pleaded for protection, tension ignited like dry tinder. In 200 BC, Rome accused Philip V of Macedon of aggression against Greek allies. It was more than politics, it was a provocation. The Second Macedonian War had begun. What followed would not merely decide territorial influence, it would shift the balance of power in the Mediterranean forever. A new world was about to be carved from the ruins of the old. Philip V of Macedon inherited more than a kingdom, he inherited the shadow of Alexander the Great. The phalanx still thundered across Macedonian fields, a symbol of unyielding discipline. Philip, though ambitious and intelligent, was no world conqueror. He governed a realm strained by internal dissent and foreign entanglements. Seeking to restore Macedonian prestige, he forged alliances with powers like the Seleucids, drawing Rome's suspicion. While Greek city-states like Athens and Pergamon pleaded for Roman protection, Philip sought to unify Greece under his rule, by diplomacy or by force. His raids along the Aegean and attacks on neutral territories painted him as a rising threat to Roman interests. But his greatest mistake was underestimating Rome's appetite for war and vengeance. The Senate, still blood-stained from battles with Hannibal, now looked east with cold determination. Rome had never planned to be a Mediterranean empire. The Republic's expansion had been forged in fire, defensive wars that birthed offensive empires. At first, senators hesitated to intervene in Greece. But fear of Macedonian dominance and opportunity won over caution. Under the command of Titus Quinctius Flamininus, Rome dispatched legions to the Hellenistic world. He was no ordinary general. Young, eloquent, and fluent in Greek, he charmed allies and intimidated foes. The legions marched with methodical precision through Thessaly and Epirus, gaining support from Greek cities weary of Macedonian pressure. Wherever Rome went, propaganda followed: "We bring freedom to Greece." But Rome's freedom bore the shape of discipline and spears. Soon, all roads converged on one point: Philip's army. The collision was inevitable. In early 197 BC, the hills of Cynocephaly, the dogs' heads, rose like jagged teeth in central Thessaly. Rain fell upon the rugged terrain, soaking armor and chilling bones. Mist clung to the valleys, veiling movement, blinding scouts. Philip positioned his phalanx atop the eastern ridges, eager to force a decisive engagement. Yet terrain favored neither spear nor shield, it was treacherous, splintered, and steep. Titus Flamininus, cautious and patient, deployed light troops and cavalry first. Skirmishes erupted in the fog, arrows slicing the dawn, but both sides hesitated to commit fully. Neither general could see the whole battlefield, only fragments. The land itself became a third player. Then came the moment of no return. A Roman detachment clashed with Macedonian advance guards on the hillsides. Like iron striking flint, the battle ignited. Philip seized the moment. He ordered the right wing of his phalanx to descend the hills, sarissas gleaming like a wall of thorns. Shields locked, pikes bristling, the formation advanced with terrifying unity. The ground shook beneath their synchronized steps. Roman skirmishers scattered, overwhelmed by the sheer momentum of the charge. But cohesion came at a cost. The phalanx was mighty on flat plains, but these were fractured hills. As the right wing pressed forward, the left lagged behind, its formation disjointed, struggling to maneuver on uneven terrain. Philip's fatal flaw was exposed: the phalanx could not bend, it could only break. Titus saw the opening. He ordered his cohorts to strike fast and wide, exploiting every weakness in the Macedonian line. Flamininus unleashed his left wing, legionaries armed with gladii and javelins surged forward. Unlike the rigid phalanx, Roman cohorts fought in maniples, flexible, mobile, and lethal in close quarters. They darted into gaps between pikes, driving blades beneath shields, disrupting formations from within. Macedonian soldiers, trained for frontal resistance, struggled to adapt to this new, swarming enemy. Then came the critical order. A Roman tribune led a detachment over the hill to strike the Macedonian left from behind, still unformed, still climbing. Panic spread like wildfire. The phalanx, so invincible from the front, collapsed when flanked. Soldiers threw down pikes and ran. Within minutes, the right wing, victorious moments earlier, was now isolated, its triumph turned to entrapment. Rome's adaptability had shattered Macedonia's tradition. The battlefield turned into a maze of slaughter. Roman soldiers pursued the fleeing Macedonians through the muddy slopes and broken ravines. There was no quarter, only chaos. Philip's elite guard fought bravely, holding the line as long as possible, but the tide was irreversible. Over 8,000 Macedonians lay dead, 5,000 more were captured. The hills drank deeply of blood as centuries of Macedonian dominance ended not with a siege, but in the rain-drenched wilderness of Thessaly. Philip escaped with a fraction of his army, humiliated but alive. He would sue for peace, relinquishing all control over Greece and its city-states. The once mighty kingdom of Alexander now bowed before Rome, not in homage, but in defeat. With Philip defeated, Rome dictated peace on its terms. Macedon lost its navy, its territory in Greece, and its pride. The Greek city-states cheered Flamininus not as a conqueror, but as a liberator. At the Isthmian Games of 196 BC, Flamininus rose before a stunned crowd and proclaimed, "The Greeks are free." The stadium erupted in celebration. But freedom came with a price. Though Rome withdrew its legions, its shadow never left. Greek politics became entangled with Roman ambitions. Within decades, the protector became master. By the end of the century, Greece would be absorbed into the Roman Republic. Cynocephaly was more than a victory, it was a transformation. Macedon's fall paved the way for Rome's Eastern Empire. A new chapter had begun, written not in Greek, but in Latin. Cynocephaly was more than just a military triumph, it marked a turning point in ancient warfare. The battle proved that the Roman legion, with its adaptability and tactical depth, could overcome the mighty phalanx of Macedon. It was the sunset of one military era and the dawn of another. Commanders across the Mediterranean took notice. The age of rigid formations was ending. Rome, now tested against the strongest traditions of Hellenistic warfare, would never fear the East again. Macedon faded into vassalage, and Philip's heirs would rule in name only. The ghost of Alexander no longer lingered over the hills of Greece. Cynocephaly echoed through centuries as the battle where discipline defeated legend, and Rome claimed the mantle of unstoppable empire. From the shattered spears of that hillside rose a world remade in Rome's image.